So we're here with Graham Falk from Roker Report. Is one of the hosts for one of the podcast shows, the Roker Report podcast, and he also does a lot of writing for them as well. He's also a student here at the University of Sunderland. So if you don't mind, Graham, can you just give us a bit of background on yourself, how all this came about?
Yeah, absolutely. Background on just myself in general?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I used to do a bit. I actually used to be in a band when I was like 20, and I couldn't sing. I'll tell you that for now. But I used to like writing a lot, so I used to like words. It's the way it is, I guess. I wrote a little book of short stories when I was about 26. And my partner at the time, she was like, "Oh, you should like maybe write something about Sunderland. You know, say how you love Sunderland, it's all you talk about. Like maybe don't talk to me about it, and maybe write about it, so I get some peace." I was like, "All right, okay, fair enough." And I think Roker Report were having like a recruitment drive, and that was like 2015, I think. And I wrote this really terrible article, which ironically I read the other day, and it is really bad. But for some reason, I thought there's something in there. They said, "Look, yeah, you can start writing for us. That's fine. That's okay." So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll just do that on and off when I get a chance. As it was, I think the third article I wrote, I contacted Darren Williams, and I did an interview with Darren Williams, one of the only students here old enough to remember Darren Williams, actually. And then I think I spoke to Gav, and Gav was just like, obviously, you know, interviews would be a great thing, maybe make it your niche if you can, to which I did. And then I'm here, how many years later? 4 years later, and I've got like 80 plus, or 70 plus, 80 plus interviews under my belt. Obviously progressed from writing on paper to writing, or to doing podcasts, because I think the world kind of likes that now. It's easy and simple. So I tend to do more podcasts, and I wanted to maybe try my hand at maybe not working in a call centre and maybe doing this correctly. So I spoke to Alex at the university, who's great. Told him I hadn't had that much education for a long time, but I showed him some of the stuff I'd done, some of the podcasts and whatnot, and he was like really happy with it, and he was like, absolutely take you on for a master's. So I've been here since then, ploughing on with doing Roker Report stuff, and Roker Report's gone a bit wild in the past few years with having the chairman on when he first came, and obviously I went from interviewing players that had maybe played for us for one season, and Nat Phillips, Quinn, Catamol, players that like I adore and get nervous when I'm in the same room as, and I think everyone loves doing that, don't they? You can't not speaking to people that you pay hundreds of pounds to watch every season, and adore and find quite iconic. I also do a bit of compare stuff. I think that's correct. Compare. I sit in a seat next to people and talk about their evening. And I've done nights with Kevin Phillips and Carlos Edwards so far, so I've done a bit of presenting with that as well.
No, good stuff. So you sort of say that Roker Report sort of like got quite big over the last few years, and that sort of like grew into a big community, really. Part of that is sort of recently branched out to helping local charities and local like soup kitchens. It quite reported well in the media that you guys set up a GoFundMe page. So where did that sort of come from? Where did that idea of setting something like that up come through, really?
It sort of started in a way last year for us, like its proper origins would have been last year. I think very much so. I think what Sunderland as a place is very, it's a community, isn't it? Like everyone like kind of looks out for each other, and I've lived in Glasgow the majority of my life anyway, but obviously I'm from Southwick, funnily enough, and I find Glasgow is very similar, very much about community and stuff like that. So, and a lot of the lads that write for us and the lasses that write for us as well have very much a similar thought. And last year I think we got together like £200, and Gav got some food and stuff from Aldi, a couple of things for Christmas for like kids, and we'll give it to people who just needed a bit of help at that time, and so it was nice to be able to do that. But Gav felt this year we could maybe just put it out to people who listen to the podcast. We thought, there's a decent reach there, like what we've got at the moment. Maybe we could sort of help with that. I don't think it's not known about the crisis of food banks and stuff here, and how much people do need help and are struggling when maybe you feel they shouldn't be. I think the depth of it was not as known, especially by myself and everyone at Roker Report, really, until we really got involved with it. But the idea came from thinking, well, if we raise 200 between ourselves, maybe fans of Sunderland, people in the community of Sunderland and further afield may want to donate as well, and we can maybe get something a little bit bigger. And we thought, $2,000's ambitious, but we'll give it a go. And here we are.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, obviously it was you said yourself that you felt that £2,000 was an ambitious target. Here we are, what, like 3 or 4 weeks later, just pushed past the 18 grand barrier. So was that something that you guys expected, or was it just sort of a bit of a steam train that you couldn't stop?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually doing something here. I can't remember what it was. Oh, I was doing a video, that was it, funnily enough. And Gav texted me in the morning about 9 and said, look, like, we've been thinking about doing this. You remember what we did last year? Like, this is what we're going to do. If you can, like, ask anyone who's, like, a noble name to sort of help support it, that would be great. You know, especially people who are connected with Sunderland. I think you've seen maybe a video from Chris Macon. He did a video. And I said, yeah, no problem. And I thought, £2,000, it's quite a bit, that. It's like, over Christmas. But then, by the time I'd finished the video, which was only a couple of hours, Gav was like, we've hit target, we're like nearing on for like £3,000. And I was just like, what? So I thought, brilliant, that's fantastic, people supported it, great, maybe get to 5, that'd be fantastic. But I think the more the donations came in, the less I was surprised. And I just think that's because I probably forgot, because I've been out the area for so long, what Sunderland's like as people. I think a lot of, I spoke about this on the podcast we did with Andrea from the Soup Kitchen. I think Sunderland's had a lot of bad press in the national media for a long time, and people of Sunderland have been unfairly labelled as things that they are not, in my personal opinion. And I think this kind of shows what Sunderland and the North East as a whole, to be totally honest, is like as a community. Very much back each other, support each other, and if someone needs help, very much with the kind of region that does that as a whole, and that include Newcastle and like the rest of the region, and that in Shields, north and south. But I think it's been great to have such a. It's a shame that it has to be done. I wish it didn't, and I think everyone will be the same. It's appalling that it has to happen in this day and age, in this country and in this region. But the fact that it does, and the fact that that much has been raised, I suppose, yeah, I'm surprised by the volume of it. But at the same time, when I really remember what the North East like as people, I'm not that surprised actually.
Yeah, it's sort of gathers its own pace quite quickly, doesn't it? And it did really take off, and you can really tell it touched a lot of people who may have been affected by it previously. And like you say, it is unfortunately a big issue in the North East, but again across the country really. So I think it does sort of send out a beacon of light that there is sort of still something there for people to hold on to hope really. I noticed there's been a couple of big donations from players as well. Do you think that's something that's really helped sort of boost the cause as well? Yeah,
there's been a couple of players. Some haven't wanted to be named, which is great. Obviously, I think the Duncan Watmore family were quite open and honest with what they donated, which was like £1,000, which is crazy. Dave Jones, Tom White from Sky Sports have put stuff out. Nick Barnes, obviously well-known, recognisable voice, and a man that dresses very well in tweed. People have really got behind it, and I think it's almost like them getting behind it was almost. It does feel like something very easy to get behind, but it has been nice that like people from the actual club and people who are, iconic in the city of Sunderland, people like Duncan Watmore, really recognisable faces, Tom White, Dave Jones, that they've gone, yeah, you know what, this is a great cause, like this shouldn't be happening, but it is, let's help it out. And there's been a few players that have helped with it, yeah. And it's been even nicer that when sometimes, I don't know how to word this, but I think sometimes people want praise for stuff, or they like having their name out there to show what they've done. A lot of those players have very much kept themselves to themselves. But it was Ian, Duncan's dad, that were like, yeah, that's okay, you can see we've donated, that's no problem. But like even the former Players Association, I think, donated £500 as well. Gary Bennett has done a lot of work behind. Gary Bennett does a lot of work in general, and Gary Bennett's obviously legendary. I loved Benno as a kid. Growing up watching him and stuff as a footballer, and he does a lot of stuff but keeps it very much under wraps, but he does so much stuff, like the mental health stuff. I think what's been quite good about it is that on the face of it, it's a soup kitchen and it's a food bank, but then when we did the podcast with Andrea, it was like community soup kitchen, and I kind of went, you know what, if I was in that position, and to be honest, I think when we talk about it quite a bit, I'm thinking I'm really, really lucky that I'm not in that position. I don't have to do that, but if I lost my job, I'm only 2 paychecks away from having to go to it, and there's so many people in that same situation, and it's really easy to fall into that. And I always think what would be the one thing I would miss? And it would actually be community. Like, I like speaking to people, hence why I do podcasts. And I think I'd probably sometimes take the conversation over the food. And I think what a lot of people don't realise is that sometimes it dehumanises people to feel like they have to do that. And it's been nice to have some focus on not just what these people do offer, like food. They actually come down and have a good laugh, and it's not about you're not dehumanising yourself by doing that at all. You don't have to feel like you're an outsider because you're asking for a little bit of help. I think people are going there and they're getting a really good laugh, good community. They're getting to talk about the match. I mean, I think Gav went down to the soup kitchen and he spoke to two homeless lads. They just want to talk about football. They just want to talk about the match. And like, I sometimes think, if I was homeless, if I didn't have enough food on the table, if I was struggling a little bit, yeah, I'd miss that a lot. But I'd also kind of miss having a bit of a chat about Sunderland and stuff like that. So I think it's a lot more work than just being a handout for food, which I think sometimes people unfortunately see that as what it is. It's a lot more than that, and it's good to have a focus on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken to Andrea a couple of times as well, and she is a woman with a heart of gold, really, isn't she?
Just bubbly.
She's lovely, yeah. And I noticed when I was speaking to, we were I know we're Team Sunderland, we're trying to like help with, on the back of what you guys have done. We've been asking students to donate stuff, and we have had some amazing things come in. And she literally is like, we'll take anything.
Yeah.
And she is, and like you say, it's more than just a food bank. It is a community of people who need help, unfortunately. But she's taken on the role herself to be that person. So I mean, if you were to give anyone who's thinking about donating anything, like a message this Christmas, what do you think it would be?
Look, there's like, if you are in a position where you can afford to give something, or be with not so much be without something. Say you have, like, there was a woman, she had a spare bed, and 9 times out of 10 you put it on eBay, you put it on Amazon, or wherever you put your Depop, is it these days? Yeah. Whatever it may be, you pop it on there and you think, well, I'll make just a quick tenner out of that. But that bed can mean the world to someone. Like, I think that bed went to a family who needed it, for some like little ones and stuff like that. What sometimes may feel little to you because you're doing all right, it actually is huge to other people. Like, sometimes me, like, getting a new pair of jeans, it's like, oh, new pair of jeans, fantastic, I need them. Do I really need them? I mean, not really. Like, I think the big thing that we said over the Bury game got called off, obviously, because Bury, unfortunately, at the moment ceased to exist. But how many pints would you have at that game? If you had just one, if you only had 1 pint, you're like, it's Christmas time, I'll just have 1 pint. It's still £3. Unless you're in London, 5. But just stuff like that, if you can afford to be without it and you feel like you can give to somebody else, do you know what I mean? It's like, a good analogy would be, if you this can sound very political, if you earn 80 grand a year and you get taxed an extra £16, that £16 is huge to a family who can't eat. That £16 not huge to someone who owns £80,000. So if you have something a little bit that you can give back, do your best to do, because you never know when you're going to need that help, and you would hope that someone would do the same. And Sunderland's the best place for it, to be fair. I don't think I need to tell anyone that. I think everyone kind of knows that, and Sunderland have very much shown that if they've got something spare, they will do. Yeah,
no worries. Thank you very much, Graham. And again, well done on raising, will be over £18,000 now in such a short space of time. So again, thank you for your time and keep up the good work.
Well done to the people of Sunderland, I guess, isn't it? It's easy to have the idea, it's just you need people to get on the back of it. Yeah, so thanks to them.
That's great. Thank you very much, Graham.
No worries, mate. Cool.